Welcome back to another brand new episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am Matt, aka Stormageddon. Before we get into this week's episode, I, of course, want to shout out my merch page. If you want to support me and all the stuff that I do, the too much that I do, the best way to do that is either go to my Ko-fi or to go to my merch page. You can find both of them at djstormageddon.com. I have t-shirts, tote bags, mugs, stickers, all sorts of cool stuff. Feel free to go check all of that out. If you want a variety of products with my cartoon or pixelated face on it, you can get that. Also have some stuff with my logo, with logos of my shows, stuff related to my podcast as well. A bunch of really cool stuff all over at djstormageddon.com. Again, if you want to support me directly, my merch page is the best way to do it. Enough about me, enough about how to support me, and let's talk about my incredible guest. I'm chatting with the brilliant, lovely, and talented Jessica Lynn Verdi. Jessica and I connected via Twitch and via Discord through the incredible Pass the Controller community. Shout out to Brendan Groom. But it turns out we actually have a lot of friends in common, and we name drop all of them in this episode. But I had a great chat with Jessica. She is an actress, voice actor, improviser, Twitch streamer, and much, much more. We talk about her new show, Heartbeats, which the new season just started last month, and tons of other really cool stuff. So enough about me telling you about the episode. Why don't I let you actually listen to the episode? So without further ado, here is my incredible conversation with the wonderful Jessica Lynn Verdi.
Are you PG 13, 14, 12?
You can curse. You're
Okay,
welcome
great.
to curse.
Awesome.
I sometimes do. I sometimes don't. It depends on the day, really. My video game podcast tends to be PG just because of how me and my host are. We don't swear a lot, but all of my other shows I tend to curse a lot. And my Mass Effect podcast, we say "fuck the elusive man" like every 10 minutes. So
I love that. Actually, I have friends that are. Have you heard of what is it? Mass Effect Adventum. Have you heard of that podcast?
Yes. Yeah.
Those
The
are my
TTRPG. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We've done a few TTRPG episodes where I play Blasto from the Mass Effect universe, and
I have never played any Mass
really?
Effect, which is such a bummer because I just didn't have like PlayStation or anything.
Yeah.
And so, or I don't even know what fucking console it was. I just had Nintendo pretty much growing up. So I missed the boat, but eventually, now that all of them have been re-released, it just sounds like 100,000% something I would like. Final Fantasy feels like something that would be harder for me to jump into because I'd never late. Because like if you feel like you have to kind of love it now, maybe not. But
I mean, every game is different though for Final Fantasy. At least, like none of them. It's not a continuing story. At least
that's fair. That's a fair point, right? Yeah. And the big remake that came out last year, that seemed interesting. I just didn't jump on the bandwagon. Anyway, Mass Effect super feels like something I would absolutely love. I just need to get around to it.
Well, when you do, I have a podcast that goes mission by mission through all three games.
I can't flip and wait.
It'd be perfect.
That sounds excellent.
Jessica, just because I don't know how much of this pre-banter I'm going to keep in the episode, it's always a mystery even to me. I want to introduce you. I'm chatting with the incredible Jessica Lynn Verdi, a person of so many incredible talents. And we were talking off air a little bit how the Venn diagram of Scott White, Brendan Groom, and Jesse Vitelli unite us. But also, and this is a funny story that I want to start with, I actually knew your voice before I knew you.
Oh my
You know
God.
what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, so, all the phone sex companies.
Oh, obviously. So much phone sex. I listen to it constantly. No, you are one of the voices of D&D Beyond and of Best Buy. You've done a ton of Best Buy commercials. And
so you like legit remember those commercials or like heard them because like how not everyone gets commercials,
right?
Like or the same commercials everyone else does,
right?
So if you like listen to Pandora though, you're going to hear the same, Best Buy commercial over and over again.
And, like, it's just funny because I recognized your voice when I watched you stream, which we're also going to talk about in a bit. And then I was like, why do I know her voice? And I looked at your website.
So cool.
It's just so funny. I was like, oh, of course you're the voice of Best Buy. That's why I know.
That's such a compliment. No, because, like, It is that's not an obscure thing. It was like it was like a great project to do, because I was the voice for like almost 2 years.
Yeah.
But primarily because I sound like Scarlett Johansson, and it's just, that's a huge awesome thing to be like singled out by you yourself for. But yes, you also listed an illustrious naming of a group of names, from Scott White to Brendan and Jesse. So if you are friends with those people, it's pretty much the best calling card one person could have.
I would agree. I think they're some of the coolest people I know, and so having that connection is pretty awesome. The first thing I want to talk to you about is, like, you're not someone, like, I feel like we're kindred spirits because I'm a multi-hyphenate as well. And, like,
love that.
You are an actress, an improviser, a voiceover artist, a nerd, a gamer. You do all these things. You Twitch stream, you podcast. What
Don't I do? Yeah, I got it.
You're very artistic. Where did this all start? Like, did it start from wanting to be an actress? Did you start from wanting to be an improviser? Like, where did the bug of creating art kind of start?
Yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic question. I think, I was in a household that super encouraged it. So I really feel fortunate, because it's hard enough when you have family that don't support one facet of your life, you know, and then to go pursue it, whether it's your career choices or your lifestyle choices, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Because it's usually not a choice for most lifestyles. But my grandmother wrote for Motown. My dad wished that he had started music instead of having kids. There was enough art that at least I think what they were excited about is like, oh, she can do something. This is great. There was even a world where my dad wanted me to be a basketball player, and I was just never going to be good at it. But I was athletic enough, right? I could go running. He was so proud that I could go running down the street and blazing. So, you are such a runner. So, like, the way I put it is that I'm beyond blessed with so many talents. That A, was never overwhelming. It never felt like dumb. That it never felt like, there was times where I was afraid to say I'm really good at this thing, because I didn't want to like sound like an asshole or super into myself. But I've come to the other side of that coin and realized I just was given a lot of opportunities to be good at things. At the end of the day, the thing I want to do the most is acting. Mm-hmm. And I remember at my the youngest age that clicked for me was probably around 5, where I was watching commercials, or, I was watching TV and commercials showed up, and I like looked at my mom and was like, is that a real family? And because I wanted us to do it. I could tell that we could do that.
Yeah.
It's like, that we could be that. And I think they said, no, honey. Or maybe they were fucking liars. My parents lied to me a lot.
A lot of parents lied. Isn't it wild to find out as an adult how much they lied to you about the dumbest shit, too?
And the things that I still think I believe.
Yeah.
Because they told me, like, they just really wanted me to shut up. But my dad, created these little mythologies about things that were completely untrue. Anyway, I don't remember exactly. It wasn't like some aha moment, but when I realized that, oh, we could do that, that sort of became a pursuit. It could be a pursuit. And then, school kind of, molds that ability to go, oh, I do like being on stage. I like that. But I also thought for 2 seconds I wanted to be a scientist too. So I had a lot of, I was pulled in a lot of directions. And I'm gonna give you a favor, or give you a gift, as opposed to saying jack of many trades, master of none. I just say that I'm a master of many trades, because fuck you, I'm great at everything I do.
There you go. Love that. Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah. So you went to school for acting?
Well, not really. It was all I really focused on at high school and middle school.
Okay.
My best friend for the last 2 years of high school was my drama teacher. And then I went to community college and pretended to take classes in order to work in the theater department, and basically just did play production. So then I went to the school of hard knocks and did all the community theaters I could find, and then went from there. I kind of got started professionally late, but I kind of knew I was off of a trajectory for high school when I changed high schools in between senior and junior year. I'm sorry, in between sophomore and junior year. I kind of lost this trajectory that maybe I could have gone to UCLA or something like that. And after that point, it just made sense when I was 18 to just kind of be not encumbered. There's other worlds where I would have loved to have gone to school. The only school I actually, what's the word, when auditioned for technically was Juilliard. I was like, I could be that, and I definitely wasn't good enough for that yet. It's hard to imagine how bad I was at acting at that age because I'm so good now. I'm like, well, why wasn't I just good straight out? What happened? But
we all gotta learn
I didn't
somehow.
go to New York. I'm here instead.
Well, that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems to have not hurt you in the slightest as you're doing so many different cool things.
It was going to be a one way or another situation. And I think more than anything, things that I thought were going to come naturally and easily, like, oh, of course I'll go to Juilliard. Of course I'll get the lead in that play. It, more than anything, taught me, oh, you actually have to go work or train or take a class or whatever. So every bit of work I had to put into getting to where I am now has only made me appreciate it that much more.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I think that I would love to talk a little bit about Heartbeats and the character that is Dr. Annabelle Love. So let's start and assume that none of my listeners have heard of it. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about Heartbeats and what it is? Great.
And I would love to hear from the listeners as to whether like this log line makes sense because I take it for granted. It's a live, completely improvised medical dramedy. So those who like Grey's Anatomy can fall in love with a whole new hospital of hot doctors. And the best part is we have no idea what's going to happen. So everything's improvised, essentially. We the only thing we do know are the characters, our history, what happened the week before, and we never know what's going to happen in an episode, except for the fact that we'll have to improvise it.
I love it. It's hilarious. It's so much fun. Talk about how you created the character of Dr. Annabelle Love.
I think I had always had the idea of Heartbeats for over 5 years, or about 5 years. One time, actually the last time I did Molly, it was the smallest dose of Molly. I started seeing how the world worked, and I started seeing what my trajectory was going to be, and within 10 years, I saw myself at NBC upfronts pitching improv shows. I was like, I know how to do this. and Heartbeats was part of that. I also have a Twin Peaks kind of version of an improv show, but it's incredible. Nice. It's not just an average show that you can put up on stage. You can. I've done improvised soap opera on stage, and it's fantastic. But the vision I had for it was television, maybe a live audience, maybe not, but make it look like TV, but improvise it. So Annabelle was always part of that equation somehow, because I always knew I was going to be the lead, because it doesn't really make sense to create something for yourself and not be the lead, because it's like, well, what else are you doing? Although there is I heard a great strategy where I was talking to this guy about improv, and I was like, I really want improv to be what I do for the rest of my life. He goes, improv's a gym. Like, he had his own version of how to come up into the business.
Yeah.
But what he does, he'll create projects, and he goes, I'd be really good for that small side character, or let me try out for that small one. So he gets himself onto shows that he thinks he otherwise wouldn't have gone out for by pitching himself for the smaller stuff. For me, I liked, it's creating a vehicle for myself, but then because it's improv and it's ensemble work, while my character is the titular character, kind of, not really, because titular means title, so it's not really the tie that binds.
Yeah.
Or the inciting incident. Everyone gets to have an episode or a whole, arc that's about them, and that's true for Grey's Anatomy too. Everything is about Meredith Grey, but it's not anymore. It hasn't been for seasons. But we still tune in because she's there. So Annabelle is a less refined version of Jessica, Lynn Verdi, who is also misanthropic, which a lot of my TTRPG characters tend to show.
Okay.
So, like, I don't want to talk to anybody, or mean or push people away, but also really good at what she does. So, and again, Grey's Anatomy, it does so many things right, including strong female characters, or well-written female characters, well-written inclusion. Like, it's just the most inclusive cast on TV, so there's so much to learn. So there's nothing wrong. In my mind, there was nothing wrong with kind of emulating that. Sure. And then what was important was, so I didn't have the name. The name came from my main love interest, played by Nick Massou. He's like, hey, there's a cardiologist named Annabelle. How great is that name? And for a second, I was gonna say My Love. So it's Annabelle Love, and I was gonna say My Love because I know a guy named Brendan My Love, and I thought that might be better to not be so on the nose about it. Mm-hmm. And again, Nick Massou, who just came in as an actor but has also directed his fair share of everything. He said, fuck it, just be on the nose. I'm Dr. Dick. My character's name is Dr. Dick. I was like, yeah, you're right. So we're just, certain things were just, you don't want to get too clever. You don't want to do too much fancy footwork. So Annabelle Love just, that felt, and then when I started, playing and working with her that way, it fit really nicely.
I love it. It's such a fun and ridiculous show that still has its heart. Like, what I love about this kind of improv is that you can just as easily stumble into something really dumb as you can also stumble into something absolutely profound or really meaningful. Like, that's what I love about improv, is that it could literally go anywhere.
Yeah, totally. Especially if, and this is the style that Ripley Improv, and what we encourage on our TV show. Ripley Improv is the group that I'm in, and that's what we produce the show out of. We are grounded. We want to tell the truth, and sometimes life can be kind of weird. Yeah. There was a ridiculous storyline, quote unquote ridiculous, where we had a ghost show up in order to resolve someone's emotional trauma, and that's ridiculous. But Grey's Anatomy has done it, so you know what? I feel really confident about that choice. So, yeah, allowing ourselves to be grounded in our storytelling, but follow the fun and the heat. One of the ways we think about it is like, follow the heat. Where's the heat? Oh, okay. Every time I'm on screen with Maddie's character, there's something showing up there, so we have to follow it and figure out what's going there. Something ridiculous can happen, and I have zero control over what my partner's going to say. So if it makes me laugh, it's probably because the character is laughing at it too.
Yeah. Which is also really fun to see, like, those moments where it's clear that there is a very thin line between the character and the actor, because it's just the absurdity of it, of the moment, or the brilliantness of the moment. And I love that.
I think it helps us to improvise, especially serialized. Like, it's one thing to do a 45-minute improv set and I'm playing the weirdest character with a hump in my back or whatever. But if we're doing these characters every week, keeping them close to a version of ourselves makes for the most realistic improv and storytelling. So it really, what I think really makes Heartbeats work overall is the genuine chemistry we have as an ensemble. So when we're on stage with somebody, even if we're in a fight, we're both going, heck yeah, this is amazing. We love each other. This is great. So that sense of play that's so present in improv is really strong for us.
I love it. It's what's interesting to me is, and I know other folks who are on Twitch who have done improv training or have done improvising and gone to Twitch. Like, I've watched a bunch of your streams, and you're always engaging and fun and hilarious, and your community is great. But what I also love is, like, so how split second you can kind of tune into things, and that must come from the improv training, right? The ability to react on the fly the way you do.
Yeah, that's incredibly perceptive of you. I had to personally remove like 100 filters of myself to not only improvise but be present as well. I had a very perceptive friend, another Nick Clark, who, again, we all kind of met each other at this one umbrella studio theater called Improv Theater. And Nick Clark and I were probably just coming off of a show, and I was like, oh God, I couldn't think of anything up on stage. He's like, no, Jessica, you thought too much. You thought about an idea, then thought how bad that idea was, and then thought of a new idea, and then said that idea. And he read me like a book, and that my therapist knows this story very well, but there was a time at the kitchen table where all the kids and my mom and my dad made fun of me for not coming up with a joke fast enough, and that destroyed me for the rest of my life. So that little, you don't know that that's what's going to happen, but it started making me nervous of timing, and now what I've learned too. So, all those layers and the filters have been stripped away. That means I'll fall on my face 10% of the time, and I'll say something dumb because I'm just going for the jugular. Or the funny comes right in my head, and I'm saying it. It's not an excuse to not take responsibility for what I say, but I fail, and then sometimes I'm hilarious or present. So, have you streamed before? I haven't had the pleasure of, so I'll have to make sure I go out of my way for your stream. I'm really bad at making sure. I will. I'd be happy to. Now I have to. Now that I said so.
Now that you've said so, it's committed on an episode of a podcast that I can then clip out and point to if you never do it. Yeah.
Shit. Savage Punch, who's in my community, who's wonderful. He points out all those moments where I need to be accountable. So I'm sure he'll glob onto this one too. He will make me go to your show.
Excellent.
But I'm sure you can relate where sometimes you feel like you're juggling so many balls, and someone said something in chat and you were talking about this, and then someone else says something in chat. There are times where I feel like my brain is scrambled eggs also. So the more in the moment I am too, because my stream is so community focused and chat focused, it does need my improv brain for sure.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it depends on the game I'm playing. Like I stream Fuser a lot, which is a DJ game that is made by the folks at Harmonix who made Rock Band and stuff.
DJ Stormageddon.
Thus DJ. Well, the DJ Stormageddon comes from me being an actual life DJ.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
very cool.
I did it more, before the pandemic, and now during. There's been less opportunity to do it safely, at least.
Yes.
But Fuser stepped in and allowed me to do it online, and I find when I'm mixing and doing that, my brain is trying to process the music side of it so much that I don't really talk as much. But it seems like a lot of my chat is tuning in to hear the music anyway, and so I don't want to talk over it too much. Whereas, like, if I'm playing something like I've been playing Nier Automata, and it's just a wild, weird game, like, I just comment on the absurdity of it, and folks love it. I think it really depends on the game. When you're streaming, are there games that you've had trouble managing your scrambled eggs with?
Pretty much all of them. But you're totally right. Like, if you're in the zone writing music, that's pretty much what they're there for too. Not, obviously they're there to see this guy create that music, but people also are fascinated by the meditative state that we can go into. Sometimes I actually don't. I guess let's put it this way: for as not insecure as I feel about most things in my life, sometimes when I'm playing certain games, I get insecure about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, A, is anyone enjoying it? If new viewers were to come, why are they going to be like, why is this old lady playing Minecraft and she's moderate at it? And even Fortnite, I felt that way with too. So like Fortnite, I have a friend who, my brother has this friend who's now like my little brother also. Mm-hmm. And they all had me play Fortnite with them, and it was a love at first sight, basically. And so that kid, Amani, or we call him Rude Boy on our chat, will play with me, but he gets so mad at me when I'm talking to my chat while playing the game, and either I have just died or he's like in a box fight, and he's like, Jesus, Jess, you're fucking talking to a cat, and like, A, I shouldn't play with him on stream because I'm going to talk to people, but B, that game also does require a level of focus that he's right about, in a sense. So and at the same time, I don't know how much my community wants to watch me play Fortnite. So it's a very long answer to say I still have yet to find the sweet spot of like, this is the perfect game that I truly enjoy playing and that I can multitask. But at the end of the day, no matter what I'm playing, I've gotten better at engaging the chat in real time, better than when I first started.
Sure. I think that's just a learned skill that just takes time in general. I think with any kind of interaction with a community, especially with content creation, and you do a ton of it, like every community reacts a little differently. And I think a lot of folks think, well, if you do Twitch and you podcast and you do YouTube and you make video essays, it's all the same, right? Like it's all the same. And it's not. It's especially when dealing with a live chat, it's like, depending on how active your chat is, how many people are there, like whether it's 5 or 50, like whether chat's scrolling by too fast and things like that. And I think you can't prepare for that, really. You kind of just have to learn on the fly a little bit.
I think that's exactly right, because especially the only experience I had with chats were at Hyper RPG, and I could pull out comments, and we're not supposed to look at the chat when we were performing, but you see what's happening, but there are 100 comments you don't see because there's 200 people watching, and at that point what I realize is that they're there for the community. They're not there to talk to us as the performers. So for me right now, it's striking the balance of, I think we have this so our community is called the Justice League, and that started from my Hyper RPG days, where I'm always the sore loser. So there's got to be justice for Jessica. So, but I think we have this wonderful community where people like hanging out with each other, and they all come to pick on me too. So I think that what is good and bad about that, which is a question you didn't ask me, is how do we get more people to join us? Because it doesn't feel too insular, but it can look like it is on the outside. But like the last 6 or 7 months, we've had the same people showing up, hanging out with me. We just did some Mario Kart on the stream just yesterday, and so I got to play with some of the people that are always in the chat, and it was just kind of cool. If anything, they're the reason I'm still streaming, because they're there every day.
Right.
So it's at the end of the day, I don't need growth if I've got them, but at the same time, you want growth too, you know.
Yeah.
So it's also the financial burden isn't on them specifically too. Right. It's really interesting dichotomy of this world.
Yeah, it's the interaction and the community management. Like, it's funny, like, I didn't go into podcasting for community management, but now I'm managing 4 different Twitter accounts and posting episodes and retweeting stuff, and it's like you kind of just learn as you go. And I'm sure like another decade from now there'll be classes on how to social media manage a podcast, but like right now,
I'm sure they already are. You
probably.
And I just don't have the time to take one, and we have to go figure that out.
Yeah, that's true.
It's probably in college right now. Like, I just can't do it. Like, and that was actually something that was getting a little stressful at the top as everyone was like struggling, obviously, with the pandemic. And my goal was to give like people, I literally started personally streaming for giving myself something to do, but primarily like I'm stressed. I can only imagine how other people are feeling, because I tend to handle my stress pretty well. And what do I want to be? The change I want. I want to be the change I want to see in the world, right? So if I can read books to people and calm them the fuck down, I'm doing my job. But very quickly I became a community manager, and that wasn't going to be a healthy exchange.
Right.
It was one thing being part of the community, another going, I'm not giving enough attention to this person and that person. So that's been an interesting. I wonder if there's a class for that.
There might be. I mean, one never knows. There's got to be.
Yeah.
There's probably classes for everything at this point. Who knows, right?
If not, you and I could create one and make money that way.
There we go. I'm in. Let's do it.
Great.
So clearly you are into a lot of different things. One of the things that jumps out at me is TTRPGs, Rat Queens, which I know you talked with Scott about. And though I am not super versed in Rat Queens, I'm quite familiar with it because I had a ton of friends who loved it.
And to be fair, neither was I until I had to learn about it and read it. So I think it's one of those things when you have someone who turns you on. It's kind of probably how the Watchmen grew too, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, check out this thing, you know. So you're not alone.
I'm curious, though. Obviously, you play a lot of games on stream. You must play games off stream as well. Are there go-to franchises that you don't really want to stream that you are kind of just for you? Games that you kind of want to play on your own? Oh,
wow. Let's. I don't know that I've been streaming long enough to feel precious about certain things like that. I'm not. I actually like streaming RPGs, but the prep and the time that goes into it, and then having to deal with like the people that are playing with you, it's a lot. It's not just a let's play this game, throw it up or whatever. But I do enjoy it when someone else has got a game and I can jump in or whatever. But I'm trying to think. I'm the kind of person who will stream for 5 hours. I started not stopping myself from getting tired. I used to only stream for a couple hours, and I was like, no, you need to stream for a long time. So I started streaming for a longer time, and then I would still sign off and go, and play more Minecraft or what have you. I'm not precious about sharing it, but I am precious about playing it to the point where it's probably a problem. It's like probably the only addiction I have at this moment. But it's a fun game that I do love that I need for me. But again, like I'm trying to think because the things that are precious to me are Zelda games.
Sure.
But I think I played A Link to the Past not on stream. Although in hindsight, I probably should have played it on stream. But I think the challenge with playing like narrative-based stuff, especially, is you want to continue playing that in front of your audience. And I would want to I want to grind 17 hours by myself.
Right.
So that kind of becomes tricky. Like I still haven't finished Horizon Zero Dawn because I also haven't been called to finish it during stream. But if I had been just playing it by myself, it would have been done within 3 days.
Yeah. Totally.
So that's just an interesting thing I found with longer narrative stories. But so far, as far as the games that basically everything I stream, it tends to be something I really want to stream on that day or enjoy anyway.
Yeah, I agree with the narrative stuff. Like I said before, I'm playing Nier Automata with my audience, and I've had to take a break recently, but just because September was kind of crazy, and like I do miss playing that game. It was a lot of fun, but I feel guilty continuing it on my own because I do want to share it with my audience.
And you know that they would be fine.
They wouldn't care,
but the continuity of it does feel sort of important.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this is so not related, but I kind of got in on the Rust phase that everyone was doing, but I've been hankering for that game. But it's a good game to stream too, I think. But it's also, I don't know what made me think about that. But that was so either people liked watching me stream that or they didn't. And at least there's no narrative. Oh, that's what it brought up. I would wake up in the middle of the night to make sure the fort was okay, or like just go get materials, and that was not good. Like it was borderline. It was obsession. Some games you just kind of fall into an obsession on.
Yeah.
For Minecraft, I just found a better relationship with it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if I were addicted to anything, it would be certain games. And I used to play a lot of MMOs back in the day, which I don't really play anymore because I just don't want to devote the time to that endless grind.
So much time, yeah.
And mostly I've actually been playing a lot more indie games lately. Like I've been obsessed with Eastward since it came out last week, and I played Boyfriend Dungeon twice because I loved it. Yeah. So.
Wow. There's no sex in Boyfriend Dungeon, right?
There's intimacy, but yeah, it's not like graphic. It's all descriptive, and it's mostly like romantic, and like.
The reason I ask is I streamed 2 nights. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I have 2 cats.
It's okay. They're adding to the show.
Not worried about
They're
it.
contributing.
No, he definitely wanted to be paid attention to, and I have if you hear a bell, which you probably will. In the recording is the littlest girl is right in front of my keyboard. And that's my biggest boy. So I stream 2 nights out of the week, pending schedules, with my friend Scott, a.k.a. Norse Meat. And he is not a video gamer. And so, well, by trade, right? So, like, maybe he played video games as a kid. His wife actually is Nintendo, was, like, raised on Nintendo. And he just was, like, he just went to the toys and physical world of things. Video gamer, I should say, because he does Warhammer and all that stuff. So we've broken him in with point and clicks and mysteries and stuff. And two Saturdays ago, one of my community members and friend Pandar gave me a couple of dating sims, but like explicit dating sims. And Scott was like, "What is that?" He was just saying, I don't really want to play games. Let's take a break on games. And then saw my Steam account, goes, "What is being a dick? What is that?" Which is a sorority thing. And we have now started streaming with Sweater Mode these crazy dating sims. And so he's been enjoying himself. I don't know how much my community's been enjoying themselves. But as long as my friend Scott's having a good time, then that works. I was wondering, because he's such a genius. He had once suggested watching me play Hades and then talking about it. He almost got his PhD in Greek language. He's insane. So he would have been able to talk to all of those characters. But instead, Hades didn't call me.
Yeah.
It didn't make me want it. But instead, we've just gotten to a dating sims instead.
Yeah,
Sex sims.
Boyfriend's Dungeon's great. It's a dating sim. Not all dating sims are explicit, and
No, yeah,
of course.
I don't know what there's a different term for the ones where there's porking, but
Yeah.
no, you know.
But yeah, Boyfriend Dungeon, I'd say is PG-13. You know, I think it's for the most part, it's just showing relationships and you know, like when they talk about like kissing or making out or hugging or cuddling, it's all descriptive. There's no images. It usually fades to black, but it's a really sweet.
I can't imagine. I doubt Nintendo has anything more explicit than that, right?
No.
On their indie games.
So you would think that, but I feel like I see on the eShop all these weird, like, looks like they could be anime hentai games that probably aren't, but like give that vibe. Like Steam for sure has them, but
it's like the candy cigarettes for kids, and they get them young.
They get them young.
Like, oh, I like this. Oh wait, there's harder substances. You know.
Exactly.
That's good. That's going to be my guess.
Probably it's. Yeah, dating sims I'm only recently discovering. Like I've always been interested in them. There are things that I can't really stream because I'm not an actor, and so I'm not great at reading out loud like dialogue as it's happening.
Totally fair, totally.
And so I've avoided.
You
most of
probably
this.
are great at it, and you just self-conscious about it.
I mean, that's probably also true.
Yeah.
I want to go back and talk about improvising a little bit. Obviously, during the pandemic, improvising in person has been much harder. But Ripley has a Twitch channel, and Heartbeats has been on the Twitch channel. I imagine you must miss performing live. It must be very different to do it over stream than to do it with a real audience.
Yeah, totally. And I'm an extrovert, though I did really well during the pandemic and became a hermit. I was like, I can toe that line really well. But I know some of the members of Ripley Improv won't even participate on the on-screen Zoom improv because they hate it so much. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Even this second season of Heartbeats, I always knew that if we were going to do a second season, unless Netflix was giving us money, it would have to be online because of the production of how we do it. But it's not like everyone wants to be doing that. We'd prefer to be, some of the people are not in the same state, so that's really awesome that we get to do shows with them. But in an ideal world, you're breathing the same air as the person, and there's a physical connection, or, you have the audience, you're getting the visceral responses for them in real time. Every artist I know was lamenting the loss of live.
Yeah.
And I ended up having the good fortune of hosting the Roddenberry stage at Star Trek Las Vegas in August. And I was hosting the morning show with John Champion. And, we had an audience every morning, and everyone was masked. It was a really nice thing, and everyone was allowed to have coffee and a donut hole. It was really nice. And at the end of the first morning, it dawned on me that I hadn't had live clapping and laughter in over a year. And there's some people like, I could cry. It's like so emotional, and good for you. I get it. It is overwhelming, but it was enriching. It was like food. So it was like good food, healthy food. So I didn't realize I was doing a really good job in survival mode, not having that because it's not possible right now. But getting it 5 days of that experience was just really, really incredible. It's just different than doing it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Even on stage, I had come up. Are you familiar with Star Trek at all?
Yeah, of course. Sure, totally.
So the Klingons, right?
Yeah.
I started this joke. I felt very Jeb Bush, where I was like, please clap, please applause. Like, but I realized I was making everyone do that. I was like, actually, like verbally, like clap, because it's kind of hard to hear people if you don't have a monitor back, because we couldn't hear the audience laughing or whatever. But also, you can't get people's facial reactions because of their masks.
Yeah.
So all you're getting is their eyes. So I needed them to clap to see if it was like responding. And then we came up with the phrase "applause."
Love it.
Which is
that's
it's the best.
So good.
It's one of the best things that's ever happened.
Sounds like a Klingon word too. It's got that kapla.
Applause.
Yeah.
Well, because kapla is, So I was very proud of that.
I love that.
I made some mugs.
I love that. Yeah, no, I'm a diehard Star Trek fan. I love the new stuff too. I've been watching Lower Decks, and I'm excited for more Discovery and more Picard and all that stuff. So,
and Prodigy is exciting.
Prodigy.
There's so much to be excited about. Totally.
Yeah, I'm such a big Star Trek nerd. Do you have a favorite Star Trek character?
Ooh. Well, my captain.
Okay, let's do captain.
Well, no. I answer the question.
Okay.
See, that's my little girl. My captain is Kirk.
Okay.
I would like to have every baby of his. I love that. Although I love Picard too. I really do. But my guy is... I started with TOS and I'll die TOS. And, I actually think it's Bones is my favorite character. I
Good
really
choice.
think so.
Good choice.
Yeah.
He's my favorite as well. And I've had mixed feelings, of course, on the modern movies. I liked the first one, didn't like the second one, liked the third one. But throughout all of them, I have loved Carl Urban's portrayal of Bones McCoy. He is just such a good actor, and he feeds that energy of the original actor from TOS. And so,
I couldn't actually feel more differently from you
really?
About that. Yeah,
fascinating.
But I think he does a good job of being his own version of it. There's an homage to it.
Yeah.
It's actually the only actor that takes me out of it the most.
Really fascinating.
Truly,
love that.
Truly, and I can say that with confidence because I just rewatched all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and I like all of them for
Yeah.
what it's worth. Because also nothing wrong with watching Chris Pine pretend to be Kirk. It's all delicious, but. Even what's his face's Scotty is a little bit of a stretch, but you get there.
Yeah.
It's just the smallest, tiniest.
Yeah.
But not really. Carl Urban just doesn't.
Yeah, that's so
he's
funny.
not bad even.
Yeah.
I don't even hate it. It's just it's not DeForest Kelley.
Sure.
It's just not the same thing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think you bring what you love about Star Trek to each iteration of it. And I think, for me, my favorite captain is always a toss-up between Picard and Janeway. I love
Fair.
Picard, and I'm a big Patrick Stewart fan. But there's something about Janeway, and especially that show specifically, that just feels so different from a lot of the other Star Trek shows. Of course...
And I've not seen that show. There's a couple of Star Treks that I really miss the 90s wave of Star Treks.
Yeah.
Which is, so when I went to go be in the improvised generation, we had to watch the Next Generation, and I was like, I don't want to. Of course I probably had seen an episode or two in passing as a younger child.
Yeah.
But I was afraid to be disappointed because it wasn't the original series, and I'm so glad to be more than encouraged by how good it was and learn to love Picard, really, truly. So I'm sure there's a world where I sit down and watch DS9 and Voyager and Star Trek and, all of them, just kind of catch up on what I've missed.
Of all of them, I would recommend DS9. I love them all, but DS9 I think is just the strongest show of its kind.
And so many people would disagree with you.
Really? I still...
I was amazed at how vehement these arguments would get at the Star Trek Las Vegas. I also don't care. I get mad when people are like, disco isn't Star Trek. I'm like, shove it up your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also go watch Seth MacFarlane's show and shut up about it.
Yeah.
We don't care. It really, it's amazing how people feel like they own something. So I'm excited for the Dune. That's maybe the easiest bit skeptical, but I'm excited for the new Dune film. But also, if it's not good, which I don't care if it is or it isn't, it's not going to change the love I have for the show.
No, of course not.
It would be nice to have something that really gets the vision of it and gets the vibe, but it's not going to. It's me being pissed at it does no good for me.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show a lot, but a lot of nerds want to be mad about something new because they feel like it erases the old thing. The new Shira, which was incredible and incredibly queer and really brilliantly done. The 50-year-old white men who are like, oh, it's not my Shira. I was like, dude, it's not for you. The show was not made for you. And it's the new Star Trek, too, is made for a new audience. It is for the existing audience as well. But if you don't like it, it doesn't erase those other shows that existed.
But you said it exactly right. I saw Freddie Prinze Jr. talking about that, and he was very ghetto fab about it. He's like, "Yo, this is not for you, bro. This Batman is not yours." And he's so right.
He is.
What really you're dealing with when someone's pissed about it, I think, because my podcast, You Don't Know Nick, is dealing with generational differences is not being the relevant market anymore. There's something really hard to come to terms with that, because we're such a capitalistic society that we're so used to being marketed to, and when we're not being marketed to, we feel unimportant.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I saw a tweet the other day that kind of broke my brain about Pokemon, actually, which I grew up playing. I've been playing since Gen 1. Is someone tweeted saying, Pokemon didn't change. It didn't get easier. You got older. It's always been for kids. You're just an adult playing it. Shut the hell up. And it's right. It's absolutely correct. Right?
Shit.
Right? Like, and I've loved most iterations of Pokemon. I enjoyed Sword and Shield. I'm excited about the remake coming out later this year of Diamond and Pearl. But like, that broke my brain, because I was like, they're absolutely right. I just got older, and they're not as difficult as I remember, not as challenging as I remember, and they're still for children, and they will continue to be for children. Yeah, it's wild to think about that.
I hadn't even considered that. Only because I was blue all the way.
Yeah.
And I just think about how long it took to get from Cerulean City to the next one. And I'm like, I don't want to walk that. It's too long. It takes too long. So I don't want to revisit it. Like, believe me, some part of me really wants to go back and just mine for that, mysterious creature. Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
You multiplied your multi-balls or whatever.
Yeah.
So I loved that. I lived for that. I lived for that in Ocarina of Time, just fucking trying to get the biggest fish or whatever. Yeah. But I actually tried Stardew Valley because I'm a huge Harvest Moon fan. And so I was like, oh, cool, this will, satiate that fix. Because nothing really will feel like Harvest Moon 64 for me, like, which really means I should just go play that title. But neither here nor there. I don't. Stardew Valley is too slow. That fucking bitch walks too slow. I ain't got time for that. And none of the characters are good looking. I was so dismayed by the design.
Really, you don't think any of them are good looking? That's an uncommon.
The drawings, it's a really. I could have forgiven one thing. I couldn't have forgiven both. And again, it's to be a little bit fair. Someone got really mad at me on the Easy Allies community for coming after Stardew Valley. Like, you should never attack indie games. I'm like, you put your game out there, I can attack it whatever the fuck. It's not going to hurt. I'm allowed to have an opinion. Anyway, so I probably wanted Potpourri, right? I probably did. So, because she's adorable and she's got pink hair. But I was like, I went through each Bachelor and Bachelorette. I'm like, God, they are not a single one is doing it for me.
That's so funny.
Because sometimes you'll latch on to Potpourri, or you latch onto the ranch girl, and then you go, oh, but the mousy book girl, I'll have to play this again because I could want to learn more about her or him or whatever. So that's usually how they get you to replay it. You're like, oh, you chose wrong or whatever. But I maybe have to try Stardew again and just to enter in a cheat so he fucking runs. And I actually went to where I met Scott White. Actually was at PAX East, and Felicia Day was at a panel, and she was talking about Stardew, and she goes, you guys, I use cheat codes. I have a child. I don't have time to slog it to be a poor farmer. And I'm like, great, that sounds like how I would do it. Yeah. That's the way I want to go about it.
Were you at the PAX East right before the pandemic started?
Yep.
We missed each other because I was at Scott White's panel that he did about RPGs, and I hung out with Scott White there. So we must have missed each other, which is hilarious to me. Yeah, it has to be. That's so funny to me.
There was one day, though, where I got trashed the night before because I went to the Celtics game and then came back and then spilled beer. You know how everyone was going to the Marriott, I think, where the bar was. And I spilled beer or pulled a plant out of the pot.
Oh, man, you were a menace.
Yeah. Oh, I was like talking to people as Saki. It was a lot of problems. But it was great. It was fun. Sure. These people. No one knew me well enough to go, she has a problem. But I spent the next day in bed willingly. But I really hurt myself that night.
I love it. Yeah, I look so fondly back on that PAX East because that was when I first met Jesse. We were on a panel together. And
I didn't meet him that time, but I met him online. So like Ships in the Night too. We also
totally, yeah. And that's when I first met Scott, was at his panel, because I believe Reb, Valentine, Swift and John Phipps were both on that panel. And so...
Oh, so I was there, but then we must have just been introduced to each other.
Probably not. But, like, I went because of those two, because I was a listener of SDGC, and then met Scott. We vibed really well, followed each other, and then shortly after I was on for my first episode about Chrono Trigger with him. And I've since done 2 episodes, which have been great.
Oh, how sweet.
We did Undertale as well, which is one of my favorites. And so he's a delight. If anyone is not listening to RPG University and you're listening to this podcast, go listen to it after.
Please,
after you're done listening to this.
Don't hang up here. But you bring up a good point, though, about Scott in particular. I go to plenty of conventions. I didn't go until I was an adult.
Right.
But I went to, like, Comic-Con, and it's usually a professional reason to go, or performing, or, trying to hand out business cards or whatever. And Wout, who I forget his last name.
Oh, I love Wout.
McDowd.
Yeah,
he's amazing. He was the reason I went. He's like, hey, I want you to be on the panel. Why don't you come? I was like, you know what? I'm still making money. Let's go. And that PAX East really taught me about how genuine people can be. Because don't get me wrong, Comic-Con is wonderful, and you're usually going with your friends. You're usually riding into your friends. But when you meet people, it's not like I'm going to be best friends with people. And that's the business in a nutshell, too. The industry of acting, I should say. Unless you see and talk to that person and want to see them again, you're never going to hear from them again, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Scott came to hang out with me every day, one way or another, after meeting me. And everyone I met was just like already brothers or sisters. And that really doesn't happen very often. And it was I was so heartwarmed by those personalities and those people. It was beautifully kind. It really was.
Yeah, I'd gone to a bunch of other conventions, and I went to the first couple of PAX Easts that existed and then hadn't gone for many years. And because I started a gaming podcast and had started doing other stuff in the games industry again and had made friends with the SDGC folks, I felt comfortable going. And then I booked this panel. I was with Liana Rupert and Ken Shepard. We did a ranking the romances in the BioWare games panel, which was chaos in the best way.
Did you guys even end up friends after?
We did. We argued, but we ended up friends. But, like, I had met, like, you bring up Wout. I met Wout as the hashtagonist on Twitter years before, because I just started tweeting about Dragon's Dogma, of course. And had just started playing it on Switch. And I think because we had friends in common, was like, oh, well, now I'm gonna jump into your replies and ask you why you like it and what you love about it and all that. And we had been friends, and so, man, when I was blown away by the sheer size of Wout as a human being, because he's this towering 7-foot tall man, and just a delight, a sweetheart, but like
the gentlest giant,
the sweetest,
on the planet.
Sweetest man I've ever met. But like, he came to one of the panels and he was sitting down, and I went over. I was like, "Hey, wow, it's good to meet you." And then he stood up and I went, "Oh, hi." I'm looking up, like, and I'm not short. I'm 6 foot, but he just towered over me. It was the funniest thing.
But at the same time, you're right that I think something about him. He also brings like a humility with him too, that doesn't make him stand that tall, right? Like, well, he does stand that tall, and he's super confident in who he is. He's very self-actualized, but he also doesn't lord anything over anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a very giving person. So he also is my height in my eyes, but also 17 feet tall too.
Exactly. Enough reminiscing about live events. Let's talk about your future. So you're working on a bunch of stuff. The second season of Heartbeats just started as of when we're recording. What kinds of things are in the works? What kinds of things are you doing? Do you have any other improv projects you're working on? Are you just leaning into the streaming more, voiceover stuff? Like, what have you been up to? What's coming up?
Yeah, it's it's still like a gig economy, so kind of I gotta go where there's like $300 or $200. You know, the thing that always is alive is, oh, I get to go on an audition today, and so forward motion in my acting career is always wonderful. And I do look at Heartbeats as that, because I see it as I see its commercial viability as well. So if either this show gets picked up by another streaming channel or it's reworked for something else, that's kind of one of the goals with it. After this season's kind of complete. And then in the new year, I wonder if I can talk about it. Ripley likes to hide their genres of the new shows.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna basically assist an outside director in a new genre.
Oh, cool.
For Ripley. Very, very excited to support him. Because our group is an all-female improv collective, and then we work with amazing guest actors. And the gentleman that brought the idea to us is also in Heartbeats, and I'm like, great, I love this idea. I also sometimes I like working on shows to make sure it's what I would want it to be. Right. So I have to be careful to just help him, get his idea across. I'm having a blast doing the podcasts. They both came about at similar times, and now they're both taking off in their own respective ways. Because one's D and Derek, or Dungeons and Derek, and it's super fun TTRPG with that comes out bi-weekly with my friends that I originally started playing role-playing games with. And we just four buds having a really good dumb time making fun of each other. And then You Don't Know Nick, which I mentioned earlier, with Nick Masu, who's also my character's love interest in Heartbeats. He's just a little bit older than me, and we deal with generational differences. I
love that.
And he doesn't even understand Instagram, so we just try to figure things out with regards to that. But have a great similar. It's really just an idea it's an excuse for him and I to bullshit together. So, yeah, there's obviously there's like little projects all along the way. I'm gonna take I'm looking forward to this. I'm taking a huge break during December.
Nice.
Because I just want to take stock, calm down, treat it like the holiday season it is, but also the industry shuts down around then too, so I don't need to grind in the same way.
Right.
And then the best thing I could say for what I'm doing is every day I do something that has to do with my career, and I couldn't be more happy. And
I love that.
I made the decision that streaming was part of that, because I think one of the things that everyone was thinking about are when the world opens up again, will people continue to stream at the same capacity? And it was important. I felt like that's what I wanted to continue doing.
Yeah.
So that some shape or other that will be part of it. I'm just trying to find ways to get paid the big bucks, and we'll see how that happens.
Well, I want everyone to check out all the stuff you're doing. Before we wrap up, I've been asking folks, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier in our conversation, but the pandemic's been tough. It's still going on. Wear a goddamn mask, get vaccinated, all of that stuff. Be safe. But, heavy sigh, what was a good thing that happened during the pandemic? Is there a good moment that you can recall, or something that happened during the last year and a half at this point that you can turn to as this was a really cool moment, and it wasn't always easy, but this was a really cool thing?
Well, I'm trying to decide how self-masturbatory I should be. I clocked this early on. Aside from initial dread and shit like that, as everyone was experiencing and buying up paper towels and toilet paper, that subsided fairly quickly for me, and I realized that I had everything that I needed. I was going to be okay. I live in the same state as my family. There was a lot of panic and stuff like that. I was grateful that I was able to see how I went on antidepressants 4 or 5 years ago, and had been doing therapy regularly, even almost all the way through the pandemic, to the point where even my therapist is like, we can stop for a while, you're good. So I was healthy going into this mentally, so I had some fortitude, being able to handle a very stressful time. Doesn't mean it wasn't difficult. I'm experiencing a lot of anxiety now. I don't claim to be perfect, but as far as coping went, I was really high on the scale of doing okay. More than one person or couple or friend group thanked me for being able to be there for them.
I love that.
And it's not like they weren't there for me either, but I'm busy, and even with my family, they hate how little I care about them. That's their perception.
Yeah.
But I'm really trying to work all the time. And I had the couple that is involved in the podcast. They even said it really quickly. They're you made the pandemic possible for us. It was I was a saving grace for them, is what they had kind of said. And I was grateful that I had the bandwidth to be there for some people that needed just a little extra help, and that I had that energy to spare, because the time will come when I'll need the help, I'm sure. And actually, that very same couple came to the rescue for a couple things. My cat also died during the pandemic.
So sorry.
Oh no, it's yes, thank you. And it was very hard, but they were also right there for me when I needed something. And so understanding, I guess the silver lining, or like this summary of that thought is learning that I was both capable of loving and being worthy of love in its many different ways was pretty much the pandemic silver lining.
I love that. That's lovely. And like, to be able to do that and feel that is so wonderful, and to be able to recognize it too.
Yeah, being in the moment is such an important factor for me too, because there's so many times in my life where I've been through awesome things and then something hard happens, and you hear people talk about the golden era, or remember when that was good. You have a hard time recognizing when something is good until after. I've done a really good job personally on working on realizing doing this podcast with you right now is the most important thing, and it gets to be the funnest thing I get to do all day, and that makes every day really, really worthwhile.
I love that. Yeah, living in the moment is hard, and I've also
hard, super hard.
I've gotten better at it, and I agree. Like, I think in the pandemic, especially for me, doing my podcasts and doing streaming, like taking every one of those moments and taking stock and be like, I want to do this, and I'm happy I get to do this, is a really lovely thing to be able to do, because not everybody can,
That's a beautiful way to look at it. My brother is on this guru veganism trip, and he's so inspirational, and then also too much at the same time. But one of the things he shared with me that's I'm trying to work on is that we pray wrong. And praying can be thank you universe, right? Thank you source power, whatever. I don't believe in an entity. I believe in coincidences. But as opposed to going, please make me healthy, or please save this person, or please make this less hard. The way you flip it is, thank you for this opportunity to learn something here. Thank you for this opportunity to see what this is like. Thanking for the opportunity for growth is one way to not keep the negative there and encourage your mindset to welcome in a more healthy version of the situation.
That's great. Thank you
really
for sharing
interesting.
that. Yeah, that's really interesting.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that. Before
to.
we call it, I would love for you to tell folks where they can find you on the internet and find all the stuff that you do. I want them to check out everything that you're doing.
I understand if you don't want to watch anything or listen to anything I do, but if you liked one of the things, I'm going to tell you one way to find them some way or another. If you like watching people stream, I have a twitch.tv/Jessica Nerdy, spelled as it sounds. Heartbeats is live on Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Fridays now through November 5th, on twitch.tv/Ripley Improv, which were named after Ellen Ripley from Alien. Yeah. And then You Don't Know Nick, which is a really fun weekly podcast that comes out on Fridays. You can find us at youdon'tknow.nick.com. I think Twitter, it's YDKN Pod, but it shouldn't be too hard to find it if you're following me on, and I'm Jessica Verdi on Twitter, VERDI. And then there's Dungeons and Derricks, and you can type in Dungeons and Derricks into Google, and you'll find it that way, or it's on Podbean, it's on all the podcasts. So those two come out all the time. And I think that's about the majority of, you're right that I do stuff with Dungeons and D&D Beyond every now and then. So every now and then you'll hear a voice of mine in a promo. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm doing a little photo shoot with them. I'm friends with Joe Starr, who is just absolutely wonderful. And he even tried to get me a job at Fandom. Didn't try to get me a job. He's like, hey, this opening is here. You might be good for it. And I wasn't. But he's one of those people who, whatever he can, he shares.
Yeah.
And so I'm very grateful that he keeps me in mind for awesome things like that. So if you follow me on Twitter, at the very least, you'll get exhausted.
I feel like that's a description of my Twitter too. I'm going to use that one. That's good. If you follow me, you'll at least be exhausted.
All, you'll leave wet and ridden hard.
Oh, that's so good. Well, Jessica, thank you for joining me. This is delightful. I'm so glad that we've connected. I'm so glad that we had so many ways to connect. It was clearly destined to be.
Again, so many people just verified how wonderful you are, and you were a very thoughtful interviewer, so thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. I will take that compliment and feed on it for the next week.
We're so good at being healthy and proud of ourselves. We're so good at that.
So good until I get off this call and then the next depression hits. But until then, we'll be great.
I'm gonna cry on the bed
after. Yeah, no, this is all. It's all an act, folks. No, but this was lovely. I'd love to have you back sometime, and I have a ton of other podcasts. We're gonna brainstorm. We're gonna do stuff. I've decided
my God.
we're gonna do stuff. But
these become like the most important things of my week. So whatever you want me to do sounds great.
Before we wrap up, we have a saying on the show that was born out of my now on indefinite hiatus music podcast. But the saying is, music is life and life is good. It's this idea that as long as you're creating, as long as you're making something, no matter how hard life gets, you can find joy in making a little something for yourself. So if you could say music is life and life is good, we will close out the show.
Music. Oh, I wanted to do the Almost Famous, but I'm not going to do it. I dig music. Music is life, and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.matt.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.